Welcome to Spain, Poco Poco. Buenos dias, Tanya.
Buenos dias. How's it going?
It's good. You sound so calm and soothing right now. Are you in a meditative state? What's going on?
I've just been painting and doing like terrace stuff, pre-summer. And I
So
suppose
you're
that's
doing like
relaxing.
house painting, not creative painting.
No, not creative painting, unfortunately. That might come later. I might paint a little mural or something, but for now I just need to get like furniture working so that there's somewhere to sit. Because
Right.
you gotta
Because you're
start somewhere.
settling into your new home.
Exactly. And today we're doing a poco about a very interesting filmmaker called Louis Buñuel. And I'm probably not going to say that correctly, but that's as good as it's getting for me.
Buñuel. Sounds right, yeah.
I'm finding the enya and then followed by a U a little difficult
Well,
because
think
I
of it
feel
like
like all these
Manuel. So Buñuel.
do it with your Spanish voice.
Luis Buñuel.
Well, at least it sounds good, even if it's not correct. That's all we can hope for these days.
So Buñuel, as we say.
hmm
He was a Spanish filmmaker, but he did most of his work in France and Mexico, with I think a little bit of Hollywood thrown in here and there. He was an international filmmaker, but he was born right here in Spain, in Aragon, in a little town called Calenda, Calanda,
Landa in Aragon in 1900. So
in
just a little
19,
while ago.
a long time. Oh, he was old. Um,
I think even though he will get into why he moved around, but I mean, I think he was still very much considered a Spanish filmmaker, even
of
though
course, yeah.
he lived really in a lot of other places. Probably why I still consider myself British, you
Well, I mean,
know?
and the reason why he left was because of things like Franco. So, like, he was kind of
Yes,
had to
we'll get into
exile.
that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But he was actually born in Calenda, but when he was very young, like 4 months old, 5 months old, they moved to Zaragoza, and he was the oldest of seven children, and they were a wealthy family. So he had means he had means to be an artist.
Yes, and if you are not familiar with him at all and you just looked at this Poco a Poco and went, who? You're not the only one, but he did have a lot of influence. He basically just as a tease, very surreal, weird, like to me, movies that are not my thing at all. But the influence of his movies later on onto other filmmakers that you will know, that is where it's all going to tie in for you.
Right, especially like Tarantino, right? If you look at a
hmm
Tarantino
If
film,
you like those kind of movies, this guy's
right.
for you.
He's,
And
I would say, yeah, Tarantino is a little bit more, it's like derivative of this, but it's that kind
yes,
of like non-linear narrative and
and
very
just surreal and
surreal
weird.
violence
Yeah,
and
violence for violence sake, I guess, or violence just to be anti-establishment violence kind of thing. Just like we're doing it differently. Like if you want a regular movie, this is the opposite of that. And
right.
then this is where it started. So I think we felt like he was a good person for us to do a little poco a poco on because I'd never heard of him. I'm going to be honest. Not my kind of style of art or music, but still, I think it's an interesting bit of Spain.
A little bit of Spain.
So, to that end, if you know about surrealism, you know about Dali. And this is where the filmmaking comes together because those two met as students in Madrid and they were part of a whole avant garde circle that also included Federico Garcia Lorca, who you may be familiar with.
A poet.
And
He was a poet,
he was a poet and he knew it.
and he knew it. Don't you know it?
So they all came together in this kind of surrealism, avant-garde kind of thing, and Dali and Brunel they decided to make some films together.
Well,
And
they
this
moved
is,
to Paris together, and
yes,
made they did only two films together, and one of them was
yeah,
Un Chien Andalou, which is French for the Andalusian dog.
yes. So it's kind of, so we've got the French and the Spain in there.
Yes.
I watched this movie in preparation for this Poco a Poco, and I do regret it.
Is it still giving you nightmares?
It is, yes. And it's not just the eye being cut at the very beginning. It was just such an anti-establishment surrealism. Dali and Buñuel had made an agreement that they would make the films based on dreams, and so it was just the whole purpose of the film was it was supposed to be weird, and there wasn't supposed to be a proper timeline and all these sorts of things, and it is exactly that.
Well, they
And
succeeded in their
Mhm.
mission.
Absolutely, no, they totally did.
And it's a short film. It's only like 16 minutes. So I mean, everyone can sit through it if you're interested. It's
Well,
not going to take your whole day.
and that is why I sat through it, honestly. Like if it had it been longer, I probably would have only watched the first 16 minutes.
Okay. And so it's a surreal film, but it's also indicative of the time, right? So this is when Freud was coming out. So they're exploring all these kind of different things that were being explored in society and in art and science, right? Everything was kind of like going against the norms because not even just against the norms, all this stuff was even new, right? There was no
Yes.
filmmaking, there was no psychology, none of this stuff existed. So it's all being created at the same time, which is kind of
Right, and you had
interesting.
silent films that were, I mean, just very, very linear, very just kind of this is what's happening, and maybe a little romance and this kind of thing, And this film it has sort of fake timelines and yeah, exactly, dream logic, Freudian symbolism, all the stuff you said, and then of course the idea is that you want to also shock the audience with
Right.
not just the bizarreness of the whole non-storyline, but also with imagery, and that's where this cutting of the eye happens in like the first scene, and it's, ugh, yeah. Anyway,
And we talked about him coming from a wealthy family, and if am I correct? Did I remember this correctly? That his mother financed, like Buñuel's mother financed the film,
yes, I believe
right?
so. Yeah, yeah. But they weren't. I don't know that they would have carried on and done more films, but the film went out and actually did so incredibly well, which was probably shocking to everybody at the time because it was so different. But it actually, I mean, obviously it had hurdles and how it got around, but I mean, it did actually so well that they managed to get funding for their second film, which was L'Âge d'Or and the Golden Age, and that was their second and last film together, Dali and him.
Mm-hmm. And that one was more political and anti-religious in its context, in its subject matter. Is that the
Yeah,
word I'm
I
looking
have not seen this one, so I'll take your word for it.
for? And especially then, and for a long time, anything that's critical of the church is going to beget lots of backlash from the conservatives
I
and
would think
and
so.
the
Yeah.
establishment.
Yeah, exactly. So it probably also did what it was supposed to do. And maybe, maybe the success of the first one didn't help in a way. I mean, it helped them make another one, but it probably wasn't supposed to be so successful, right? Because it was
Right.
supposed to be so anti everything. And then you've got success and money coming your way, and it's like maybe this isn't the purpose of it. I have no
We're
idea.
we're what we stood. It's what we're against. We're becoming what we're against, and I think
Right.
that's part of. So it was soon after this their relationship splintered. They didn't.
Hmm.
They did not remain friends in life, and part of it is that Buñuel kept true to his leftist ideology and
Hmm.
morals, where or Dali, as we all know. I mean, I don't know if we all know, but I know that through his life he just became more capitalist and more commercial, and it was he
Right.
was establishment, right? He was making fun of the establishment yet becoming entrenched in the establishment, right?
Well, exactly. And I think because we'll sort of get into a little bit here that because of those views and the political views and the rise of Franco, Buñuel ended up having to leave Spain. So not only did his relationship with Dali splinter, but his kind of ability to be in Spain also hit a little bit of a hurdle there
Yes.
as well. And when the Spanish Civil War broke out, he departed and ended up. Well, he moved to Mexico. He did do films in America, right? So he was kind of doing little things and trying. He wasn't in Spain, but he hadn't sort of denounced himself as being Spanish, but he did take on his Mexican nationality at that point after.
Right. He became a citizen, I believe, later
Hmm.
in life. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, he lived in France for a few years, and then he exiled to Mexico,
yeah,
and he had a couple stints going into Hollywood, but he
yeah.
wasn't he wasn't Hollywood material. He didn't have the chutzpah or he had he didn't have the lack of integrity to be a big Hollywood filmmaker.
Probably not. And also found Mexico to be a bit more friendly to what he was doing. And becoming a citizen in Mexico made it easier for him to get funds and have a proper filmmaking business, I think, rather than just
Hmm.
living there. So the getting this Mexican citizenship was something that benefited him as a filmmaker as well.
In his later films, you can really see the influence on Tarantino because the cinematography is Tarantino's just grabbing from it. Like those films made in the 50s and 60s that are less surreal, they have those elements, but they are commercial filmmaking. I mean, he was making now films as a business and money and a career. He wasn't an idealistic student and artist in like he was in 1930 slicing eyeballs open on film, right?
No, and he did win many awards, so I'm assuming it was well received, carried on being well received, his work.
Right. He won a ton of awards. He
Yeah.
won, what did he win? He won an Academy Award and
Cannes Film Festival prizes,
like
5 Berlin International Film Festival, BAFTA. I mean, it carries on.
and then he was nominated twice for a Nobel Prize in Literature. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy. So he had quite a lot going on.
He had quite an oeuvre, as they say, right?
Right. And his films, I mean, not just Tarantino, we're looking at David Lynch as well. Like you can sort of, if you know David Lynch and Quentin Tarantino, you can kind of see the connection between the type of filmmaking they have. And I don't know, Alejandro Jodorowsky. Are you familiar with?
I don't know him, but
I
didn't he
don't know
also,
him.
and Almodovar takes some influence from him as
Mm,
well,
yeah.
right?
So films that feel like dreams, well, actually nightmares in my sense, maybe a dream for somebody else, but and dreams and nightmares anyway, imaginary worlds, and rule breaking, anything where you've got nonlinear storylines and sort of disturbing imagery, all this type of sort of thing. I think when I think of Tarantino, maybe sort of just a lot of violence
Hmm.
done in maybe a cinematographic kind of way. This is what we're talking about as an influence from him.
And I would like to add that you can see some of these films on YouTube. So if you don't have to,
That's where I saw it.
you don't have to hunt them down. If we've so piqued your interest,
Yes. But
let's
if you're
plug.
like me, maybe don't or do. I actually would recommend it, even though it's quite disturbing for me. There's other parts in the film too that are quite disturbing, but it's interesting to see where these other filmmakers are getting their influence from. And it is also interesting just to see a film because I honestly didn't know that Dali had made films either. And so this was very interesting for me, even though it's not my type of art.
It's not your cup of tea, as they
It is
say.
not my cup of tea.
Well, I don't know about you, but I am going to research some of his later films and watch them because I did see some like brief trailers, and I do
Yeah.
love that kind of that 1960s cinematographic feel that he did. That
Yeah.
almost where the colors almost look like watercolors, like the way
Hmm.
it's shot. I love
This
that.
seems way more up your alley than mine. So I think it's funny that I was the one that saw that film because this is way more your
It's funny
thing.
that you're the one. Let's talk about this guy.
Well, enjoy. You can not keep us posted on how it goes.
Okay, sounds good. Well, adios, Tanya.
Adios. Thank you for listening to another episode of Our Spain.
We really appreciate all the support we have received since we started this podcast.
Visit ourspain.com for transcripts to this and our other episodes, some exciting merchandise, and if you are so inclined, there is also a link to buy us a coffee, which helps support this fun endeavor.
And please follow us on Instagram and YouTube at Ospain Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to us wherever you're listening.
It really helps us stay connected, and we'd love to hear from you.
Let us know if there's any topics you would like for us to talk about. Even though we are happy to talk about anything, we also want to make sure it's informative for you.
Exactly.